Hi, Camera Geeks! We've got so much in store for you this episode. Sobrang excited na ako. Excited na rin ba kayo? But before we get technical, let's see what happened last Saturday sa Shoot for a Cause. Hey guys, we're here now at Ninoy Aquino Parks and Wildlife. Right now, we're here at the Open Shoot for a Cause, organized by a youth group spearheaded by Benedict. So Benedict, ano nang nangyayari ngayon?
Sa ngayon, nagsisimula na yung photoshoot for a cause. We expect na madadagdagan pa yung mga darating, mga photographers and models nga sila.
Sino yung mga beneficiaries nitong open shoot na to?
Yung beneficiary is yung Answering the Cry of the Poor Foundation. Sila yung foundation na tumutulong sa mga batang makapag-aral, matulungan silang magkaroon ng hanap buhay at iba pa. So kami, mga tutors kami ng ANCOP. Ngayon, ito nga yung photoshoot for a cause na ginawa namin para matulungan sila at pati yung mga batang gustong makaranas ng magandang summer.
So paano nyo nasimulan yung group ninyo? Tapos paano nyo nagkaroon ng idea na gawin tong shoot na to?
Nag-start yung group namin sa pangarap na makapagsama-sama yung group namin na M&D Photography. So we are young leaders ng mga organization namin. Magkakaiba kasi kami ng organization and we want to have bonding with each other. Then nangarap kami na someday makagawa kami ng event, and yun nga sa talento namin na mga photographers, young photographers, na pwede pala kaming makatulong, kaya naisipan namin bumuo ng photoshoot for a cause.
There you have it, guys. Photography is such a wonderful craft that we can use to help other people fulfill their dreams.
Because of photography, na-discover ko sa sarili ko na nailalabas ko yung creativity. Bata pa ako, mahilig na talaga ako sa drawings, sketches. My first camera is Canon 1000D. Huwag lang tayo mapagod mag-take ng photographs.
Sir Winston, I have a question.
Yes, Frankie.
How does ISO, shutter speed, and aperture affect a photograph?
Okay, that would be like 1 hour of explanation. But to make a long story short, these are the controls of light for your camera. You know, with photography, it's all about light. Photo is actually Greek for light. And with shutter speed, which is controlled by the camera body, you have windows that open and close. And the faster the shutter speed, the less light you bring in. With aperture, it's also control of light. It's controlled by the lens. A bigger aperture, of course, would give you more light, and a smaller aperture would give you less light. ISO is the sensitivity of the sensor. You know, before it was film, it was the sensitivity of the film. Now with digital sensors, the higher the ISO, you can shoot in darker situations and still get good exposure. Now I think what's important is to know how to use these three controls of light altogether. to make it simple, I'll give you my workflow. If I'm outdoors, I'll shoot with a low ISO because normally there's a lot of light, unless it's of course nighttime or early morning. Let's say if I'm shooting outdoors, I'll shoot ISO 100 or 200 because the lower the ISO, the better the quality. And then if I'm shooting a portrait, I'll usually open wide my aperture, a very nice background blur or bokeh as it's called, and then that bokeh will result in the subject popping out because the subject is sharp, the background is blurred, and then you have that subject popping out in 3 dimensions, even if your photo is a 2-dimensional length and width thing. Okay? So to make things simple, I have my ISO down because I'm outdoors. I have my aperture wide because I'm doing a portrait. The only thing I have to decide now is my shutter speed. So I just move that shutter speed until my metering gets close to 0. Okay? And then I get good exposure. Now the thing with shutter speed is you have to remember that it controls the faster the shutter speed, the better to freeze motion.
This and more when we return.
Photography is a medium na social medium na ginagamit natin, like as yung ginagamit natin sa Facebook. Leverage natin yung photography eh. So I think madali yung generation natin ngayon, madali yung access for photography.
Now the thing with shutter speed is you have to remember that it controls the faster the shutter speed, the better to freeze motion. And you can't shoot with a very slow shutter speed, especially if you're hand holding the camera. A very slow shutter speed, you would get camera shake. Now the number I always tell my workshoppers is 1/125 seconds. That's our mantra. 1/125 seconds. That is a tried and tested shutter speed. Slower than that, and you might have camera shake, and your photo will be blurred, or as we say in the Philippines, nyarp, not sharp. Okay, and some lenses have image stabilization or vibration reduction, so that you can shoot at slower shutter speeds, because there's gyros in there that stabilize your lens. But if your model, likes to flip her hair, then you still need that fast shutter speed. So 1/125 seconds. And faster is fine. But if slower, you better be careful because your photo might be nyarp.
And we don't want it to be nyarp.
We don't want it. Well, sometimes with sports, for example, you can still have nyarp photos, but if the impact is strong, if you're shooting a photo with Kobe dunking the ball, even if it's a bit nyarp, as long as you get that aggressive face, it's so good. It's all impact. It's all in the impact of the photo.
So what's the difference of the kit lens and the prime lens?
Okay, with the prime lens, you normally have larger apertures.
This and more when we return. Photography to me is a way to express myself. My name is Francesca Clee. I love to learn the craft of photography. And just like you, I am a camera geek. So join me as I travel around the world to explore the many facets of photography, only here on Camerageek TV. So what's the difference of the kit lens and the prime lens?
Okay, with the prime lens, you normally have larger apertures. The confusing thing about aperture is the smaller the number, the bigger the aperture. Like the prime lens would have apertures of 1.8, really large apertures, or 1.4, or even 1.2. And those are really large apertures, letting a lot of light, but getting that 3D effect. They're also more expensive, except for the nifty 50, the 50mm, which is a great deal. For about 5,000 pesos, you can get a prime lens with a large aperture and really nice depth of field, so you get that nice bokeh and that fantastic 3D effect. Now with kit lenses, which are less expensive, you have apertures that are not constant. When you zoom in, the apertures become smaller, 5.6. If you zoom out, then your maximum aperture is 3.5. Still not as large as the apertures of a prime lens. But then you can zoom in and zoom out. And with a prime lens, if you zoom in, you have to zoom in with your feet. I zoom in, I walk closer. I zoom out, I walk away. Okay. But prime lenses are better in the sense that you have those larger apertures, the photos are sharper if you're in focus and you have the right shutter speed. 1/125 seconds.
So I have photos here that I want to show you. How can I make it better?
One thing I tell my workshoppers, a very easy way to level up is to keep your background simple. Yeah, a lot of us, we just shoot and shoot. We look at our subject, but we don't pay attention to the background. Now, with photos, as I've said, less is more. If you have distracting backgrounds, that impact of your photo is diminished. It's much less than if your background was nice and simple and all the attention would go to the subject. For example, this very nice smiling girl. Now, there's that little boy in the background, so my eye looking at this photo would be distracted because it would be looking at the little boy. Now, I know you're going to take another photo because the smile is so cute, and well, the little boy is still there. It is like a second after. We still have that smile, but there's still that distraction of the background. So we take the photo again, and you see how with the little boy not being there, there's that distraction is no longer there. So the focus, of course, would go to the cute kid. Now the problem here is that she's not really ready. She's a little awkward. Her hands are a little stiff. So I think maybe you talk to the little girl and you get her to relax and you shoot again, and she gives you that really cute pose here finally with the fourth photo, and that's your winning photo.
See, very simple background. You've got that bokeh, that blurred background. Your subject is sharp, nice and cute. And that smile is just the winner. There you go.
Because of photography, na-discover ko sa sarili ko na nailalabas ko yung creativity. Bata pa ako, mahilig na talaga ako sa drawings, sketches. My first camera is Canon 1000D. Huwag lang tayo mapagod mag-take ng photographs.
For this retro segment, I've chosen Mr. Edwin S. Loyola.
Mabilis ako ma-attract ng mga paintings, mga artwork. So, bata pa lang ako, kahit pag may mga tour, talagang dadaan ako sa mga museum para tumingin ng mga paintings. So, hindi ko kayang mag-paint that time, mahal. So, yun, ang photography ang pinaka mabilis na paraan para makuha ko yung gusto ko sa visual arts. Painter Rembrandt. So, kung napapansin yung mga lighting niya, yung mga effects na ginagawa ko, kahit na sabihin natin hindi ko ginagaya, literal na hindi ko ginagaya, pumapasok. Pumapasok yung Nakikita ko na lang sa mga gawa niya na, may pagkahawig yung lighting effects ng gawa ni Rembrandt. So, siguro doon ako na-inspired. So, ang inspirasyon ko, hindi karamihan sa photographer, kundi sa painter si Rembrandt. Paano ako nagkaroon ng access sa camera? That time sa FPPF National Photography Week ang tawag pa nila doon, hindi pa siya Photo World Asia. 1993 napadaan ako sa Shangri-La Mall. Hindi inasahan, meron silang exhibition. So pagpasok ko malalaking litrato ang naka-exhibit pag sinabi National Photography. So na-amaze ako, sabi ko sa sarili ko, habang iniikot ko. Siguro hindi lang 10 beses ako paikot-ikot, na pare-pares ang tinitignan ko. And sabi ko, dapat meron din akong litrato nakakabit yan. So yun, habang umiikot doon, nadaan ako sa secretariat, meron silang daily contest. So sabi ko, pwede akong sumali, open sa lahat. So ginawa, pag uwi ko ng bahay, nanghiram ako ng camera. Alam mo kung unang camera na ginamit ko, 110. Yung pinakamaliit, yung negative niya, and then punta akong Port Santiago and shoot. Pagbalik ko and entry ko, after 2 days in-announce nila, nakuha ko 1, 2, 3. And then doon na nag-umpisa, pagdating ko sa trabaho, sabi ko, meron ba mabibiling second hand na camera? So meron palang camera club sa Film Life. So nabili ko yung second hand na Minolta X700. And then a month after that, sabi ni Miss Wang, Edwin, may contest, national photo contest, sabi niya. Mahal na araw. So sumali ako, nakuha ko yung grand prize. First attempt ko rin, nakuha ko yung grand prize. So doon na nag-umpisa. So yun, dire-diretso na. And then, yun, parati akong pag tumitingin ako ng libro, parati yung sinasabi, nagtatanong, hindi ko na tinitignan yung pag photography book, hindi ko na tinitignan yung mga visuals. Bale, binabasa ko na lang, hindi ini-imagine ko na lang kung ano yung nababasa ko. Pero yung litrato hindi ko nakikita dahil ayokong magaya. Ayun, word unique. Parati ko iniisip sa litrato ko, dapat walang kaparehas. Kaya pag grupo ang nag-shoot, hindi ako sumasabay. Umiiwas ako, pupunta sa ibang lugar para kakaiba yung litrato. So, parati yung gumagawa ng litrato na simple, pero may kwento. Yun lang, simple na may kwento. Kahit na dahon yan, kahit bato yan, dapat may kwento. Gumagawa ako ng still life na may drama, may kwento. Practice every day. For 19 years, every day nagsushoot ako. So, kahit na anong gamit ko, mapa-iPhone, DSLR o point and shoot, kailangan mag-shoot ako. Kahit nasa Amerika na ako, kung isang galing ako trabaho, pagdating ko sa pagod, nakatulog ako, gigising ako para mag-shoot. Kuminsan yung lababo doon naglalagay ko. Kasi na-practice ko yung available light. So hindi ko kailangang mag-setup ng maraming ilaw para makapag-produce ng isang litrato. So doon ako nag-start, available light. Pre-practice ko sa lahat yung direction ng light. Doon na mismo na. Dire-diretso na. Huwag munang bumili ng matitinding gamit, na mamahaling gamit. So as a start, bumili sila ng tamang presyo ng camera and then i-maximize na lang muna nila kung ano yung lente nila, kung ano yung gamit nila. And then pag-aralan nila saan ba sila dapat sa photography. Kasi minsan, bili na sila ng lente, hindi nila alam na hindi pala nila kailangan gamitin dun sa napili nilang area sa photography. So, alamin mo muna nila saan sila. And pinakamaganda siguro is gumawa sila ng sarili nilang style. Tatakan nila yung litrato nila. Para yung pag nakita yung isang litrato, sasabihin nila, kay Juan de la Cruz yun. Kahit na walang pangalan yung litrato, pag nakita nila nakasabit, kay Juan de la Cruz yun. Sinasabi ko rin sa maraming workshop ngayon, umatin lang sila ng umatin ng workshop, pilihin nila kung ano yung natutunan nila, pero wag nilang gagayahin. Kunin nila yung dapat na gusto nila doon, and then haluan nila ng style nila hanggang makadevelop sila ng sarili lang trademark. Trademark kasi ang ngayon, ang labanan pag nasa photography ka . Diretso lang, makapag-produce pa ng maraming book para pag nawala ka na sa mundo, may maiiwanan ka na masasabing pwede mong i-share kahit nawala ka na rito sa mundo. And then, pag tinatanong nila ako, nakuna mo na ba? Yung masasabi mong pinakamagandang litrato. Ayokong makunan at ayokong dumating na ito yung sasabihin ko, ito na yung pinakamatinding litrato. Kasi pag dumating yung ibig sabihin, hihinto na ako. Kaya ayokong makita, ayokong makunan yung sasabihin kong best na photo ko. Hanggang ngayon, wala pa ako masasabing pinakamagandang litrato. Mga paboritong litrato, pero pinakamaganda wala pa. Imahing may kwento. That's it. Yun lang. Kasi maraming litrato na maganda pero walang kwento. So, walang patutunguhan yung litrato pag gano'n. Yung simpleng pag nakasabit, lahat ng titingin, iba-ibang kwento ang magagawa. Ganun siya. Hindi yung pagsabit ay maganda, tapos na.
street photography. Sobrang daming photographers na gumagawa nito ngayon. Hindi pala ganun kadali ito. May nakilala ako na ibang pananaw sa street photography. Tara, kilalanin natin siya. Pero bago yan, alamin muna natin kung paano siya nagsimula.
You know, as we understand, photography is capturing those moments, those scenes, you know, freezing them in time, tapos eventually, when you go back, let's say for example, tumanda ka na, or eventually after in future, no, makita ng mga ibang tao, no, freezing those moments, making a part of history na rin yung photography. So for me, the most important part about photography, capture a particular scene, capture a particular moment, freezing it in time, and then eventually you can go back and, you know, maybe it would be part of history, maybe it can be part of your life. So it records everything from past to present. We live actually in a photographic world. No? Everything around us is photographic. So lahat yan pwedeng i-capture, but then only those with a good eye, no, to who can actually capture the scenes, those moments, those memories. I started photography when I started photography actually 2005. I started literally in a small camera, using a small camera. It's actually a very small camera, palm-sized camera, na binili ko online. So, I just wanted to take videos actually at that time. Yung gusto ko i-record yung everyday life. No? Kasi, when I was young, nung bata ako, high school, elementary, wala akong camera nung time na yun. So, college days, wala rin akong camera. So, kung papansin mo, kung babalikan ko yung college days ko, hindi ko mabalikan kaagad kasi I don't have those photos na, ay, ito yung college friends ko, ito yung mga, wala akong ganun eh. So, that time kasi wala talaga akong camera. So, sabi ko, when I grow up, sabi ko, pag nagkatrabaho ako, bibili akong camera. And I want to take videos actually, yung i-record mo lahat ng events sa buhay mo through videos. No? And then one time, nag-brown out. So, since nag-brown out, hindi ako makapag-video kasi yung camera niyon sobrang liit lang siya eh. Tsaka VGA pa yung ano nun, yung ngayon kasi may megapixels na may ganun. So that time VGA pa yung quality ng photos. So hindi ako makakuha ng video kasi walang light yung camera na yung maliit na yun. So what I did is naglaro ako sa kandila. Yung brown out, naglaro ako, picture ako ganun, kuha ako ng kandila. And then after nun, the next day, nakita ng boss ko, browse niya yung camera, video cam na yung maliit. Binawsin. Nakita niyo mga pictures. Sabi niyo, oh Larry, you take photos very well. Sabi niya ganun. Sabi ko talaga. So doon nag-ring sa, oy, no, but why not try photography? So during that time, photos na, hindi na videos. Kahit ano, lahat, mga halaman, lahat, kinuha na ng pictures. And then after that, bumili ako ng isang camera ulit, that's 3.2 megapixels na Nikon, E3200. No? It's 3.2 megapixels lang siya. So during that time, lumalabas na ako palagi just to take photos. No? And since it's just 3.2, hindi ko ma-enhance kagad yung photo. So that's the time din na I learned Photoshop on my own. Doon ako nag-aral mag-Photoshop, paano mag-edit, paano mag-brighten, mag-adjust ng contrast, brightness, mga ganun. Levels that time, hindi ko pa alam. Yun yung alam ko eh. Tapos convert sa black and white, yung mag-desaturate ka lang. Yun lang yung alam ko that time. So during those times naman, I joined a forum online. It's an international forum na nandun lahat nagpo-post. So doon ako nagkukuha ng inspirations ko sa mga ibang tao, ibang photographers din, no, sharing the same passion. So I also shared my photos there. Tapos dami nagko-comment. Nakakatuwa pag marami nagko-comment, daming nagla-like, daming nagko-comment. That was way back na 2005, 2006. So doon na-develop yung passion ko sa photography talaga. And then after that, I look at books, magazines. Yung favorite ko yung mga life na mga magazines. Kaya if you notice, I have mga books ko dyan, puro life, puro time magazines. Kasi yun yung mga favorite ko eh. Kasi all I wanted to do that time is to take photos. Kasi na-inspire ako masyado eh. So that time, when I was looking at photos, parang wow, nangyari to before. Pag makikita ko, parang tinatamaan ka rin eh. So that's the time na wow, gusto ko kumuha ng photos na pag nakita ng tao talagang mararamdaman niya rin. No? Eventually, siguro pag wala na ako, wala na rin ako. Siguro after 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, makita pa rin yung photos. Kapag nakita nila, wow, grabe to. Sobrang mafe-feel mo pa rin kung ano yung feeling nung nagkumuha ng photograph that time. So, pag nakuha mo sa magazines, pag nakikita mo sa magazines, same thing, no? Mafe-feel mo pa rin siya lahat. So, that's the only motivation I had before. Na gusto ko lang kumuha ng photos, sobrang makaka-reach out sa soul nung viewer. So, yun, tuloy-tuloy lang ako. Kumuha lang ako nung kumuha. And then, after that, eventually, join sa mga ibang forums, meet friends. No? So that's the good thing about photography. Then if you join forums, if you join a lot of groups, no, dami kang magbabago buhay mo, magbabago yung friends mo, no? Yung set ng friends mo magbabago. So that time, nung nag-photography ako, nagbago yung tingin ko sa photography, nagbago yung lifestyle ko sa, parang, alam mo yan, wala ka nang inisip kundi kumuha ng pictures na tipong eventually magkakaroon ng meaning dun sa ibang tao. Maybe it could change other people as well. Nung nagsa-start ako sa street photography itself, hindi ko sigurado kung ano yung mga... Kasi, like all of us, newbies, lahat ng nagsa-start, hindi yan eventually kaagad na, ay, pag may camera ko, gusto ko mag-fashion kaagad. Gusto ko kaagad, ay, magla-landscape ako. Siguro, may ibang ganun, but then, others na, inisip siguro nila, gusto ko mag-landscape, gusto ko mag-fashion. Eventually, habang nandun na sila, ma-realize nila, mas gusto ko pala yung ganito na genre, na hindi yung ganitong genre. So, nung nag-start naman ako sa photography, lahat dinaanan ko from macro, yung mag-arrange ka ng colored pencils, no? Mag-picture ka ng colored pencils, macro lahat. Ano kasi ako nung time that time na nag-start pa lang talaga ako, lahat open sa akin, wala akong pinipili eh. So, labas ako, picture ako ng bata na nakatulog, picture ako ng nagbabike na tao, lahat. Maabot ako ng Marikina mag-isa, pumunta ako sa Marikina, bumibiyahe ka lang, bayad ka ng pamasahe, hindi ka alam kung saan ka pupunta, kung saan ka darating. So, eventually, malaman ko na lang, nasa Marikina na ako, nasa riverbanks na ako. Okay, picture ako sa riverbanks. So, yun na yung gamit ko, yung yung kung anong meron ako nung camera na yun. So, and that time, hindi ko alam na ginagawa ko street photography. So, alam ko lang kasi street photography, you go to street, you take pictures. Pag sinabi ko mo portraits, eventually, hindi pa siya street kasi portrait siya eh. So, hindi ko alam yung difference ng street photography talaga nun. O talaga yung street photography para sa akin that time. So, kuha lang ako nakuha ng mga tao sa labas. No? Yun nga, kasi like I said earlier, mas gusto ko kumuha ng photos na inspiring, na-inspire ako through those magazines na nakita ko, no? Like sa Time magazines, mga ganun. So, lahat kasi yun nakikita ko, parang nangyayari events outside eh. So, wala namang, minsan lang sa loob eh. So, lahat yun sa kalye, sa kalsada, mga ganun. So, hindi ko alam na street photography. Nalaman ko lang ng street photography when people started telling me na, hey Larry, you're good at street photography. Sabi ko talaga, street photography pala yun. So, street. So, puro na lang street. Tawag sa akin, street. Okay, sige. So, siguro street photography ng itong ginagawa ko. So, that's the time na binasa ko, na pinag-aralan ko ano talaga yung street photography. So, I learned about, kung ano yung difference ng street photography. Pag sinabi mong portraits sa street, parang mga ganun. So, that's the time na, okay, I think I really love street photography. I think what makes a good photograph, for me, it's always the story. No? Kahit sabihin natin, napakaganda ng photo mo, napakaganda ng kulay ng photo mo. Pero kung walang story, hindi ako tinamaan ng photo mo, for me, it's not that good. Gusto ko lagi yung photo pag nakita ko, talagang, wow, alam mo kung nangyari dito. Parang alam mong nandun ka. Alam mong you were there during that time. Kahit matagal na, 10 years ago, 50 years ago pa yan. Pero pag nakita mo yung photo, okay, medyo masakit, medyo alam mo yung feeling ng photo niya. So, for me, that's what a good photo is all about. Na hindi porke maganda yung sunset, na kulay ng sunset mo, hindi porke maganda yung model mo, hindi porke maganda yung subject mo, or maganda yung kulay ng suot ng subject mo. Maganda yung scenes, maganda yung shadows, maganda yung contrast, maganda yung ilaw. Kung walang emotion na kasama, kung hindi mo na-develop ng maayos or na-process or na tao dito or na compose na maayos wherein your subject will be able to connect to that photograph. For me, it's not that good. Well, tip ko sa mga bago na aspiring street photographers, make sure na mawala yung fear. Just go outside. Always go outside, scout and practice seeing. Kasi street photography earlier, as we talked, hindi siya ganun kadali. So all you have to do is to go outside, bring your camera. Although you don't have to bring your camera, kahit di nyo bilhin yung camera mo, scout, no? Tingin kayo sa labas. Make sure na nakikita nyo try to see things differently. Let's say shadows, contrast, colors, patterns, stories, people, characters, no? Tingin kayo sa mga character ng tao. Oy, okay itong character ng tao nito, pwede kong picturean. Oy, pwede itong scene na to, pwede kong balikan to. No? Oy, meron pala ditong vendors, o meron pala ditong puro nakapayong, o puro naka-boots, puro naka-jacket, maraming tattoo, mga ganun. So, go outside, explore everything. No? Ilaw, pati ilaw, tandaan yung oras kung kailan bumabagsak yung araw or shadows dun sa ganitong particular scene or particular area. So, go outside. Also, make sure na i-build trust dun sa subject niyo. Kasi, for me, it's very important to build trust. Talagang, if you have that trust na tuloy-tuloy niyo yung pictures, yung pagkuha mo ng picture. And at the same time, hindi ka na rin mahihirapan mag-approach other people. Kasi, you know that people will always want to have their photos taken. So, nakaka-enjoy. Just enjoy photography and enjoy street photography the most.
You see guys, hindi na malaya ni Larry na street photography na pala yung ginagawa niya. It doesn't matter what camera you start with. As long as you enjoy what you're doing, just keep on doing it and the rest will follow.
My goal is just to document life the way I see it. Street life, landscapes, and portraits of people.
Lahat ng ito sa pagbabalik ng Camerageek TV.
Photography is a medium na social medium na ginagamit natin, like as yung ginagamit natin sa Facebook. Leverage natin yung photography eh. So I think madali yung generation natin ngayon, madali yung access for photography.
Our next guest photographer is internationally acclaimed multiple award winner Mr. Grant Orbeta.
Photography to me is about self-expression because I've been into it since I was 17 years old. So that's like 35 years ago, no? So since that time, I've kind of learned to see things rather than just shoot anything. So when I'm walking around with my camera, and depending on the kind of lens the focal length of the lens that I'm taking with me, no, I kind of see what a 50mm frame would look like, what a 35mm frame would look like, And then I really take time to compose, especially now that I'm really using rangefinder cameras. And it kind of forces you to really compose and think about the scene before shooting. So what's important for me is the self-expression, what I see in it, because I try not to shoot for other people, I shoot for myself. So I shoot what I like, what I see in my mind's eye. I see the lights, the shadows, the shapes that are amplified by the lighting. And those are the things that I try to capture in my photography. So, but as a photographer, you constantly evolve. So you don't normally just stick to one style, one look. So you have to try to experiment. So like sometimes you experiment with high contrast, really graphic and stark images. Sometimes you just want to see colors, or maybe there are times you want to do macro. There are times you want to do street. So you have to evolve and you have to really practice the technique, no? Because the camera is really just a tool. So the tool will do whatever you want it to do and what kind of output you want to get from it, no? So it's not because you have an expensive camera or a cheap camera, then you won't take better pictures than the guy who has a more expensive camera and who has a larger lens, no? It's not like that. It's how you learn to use it to express yourself artistically. So that's what photography is to me. I like taking pictures of a lot of things. I like to do street because it kind of shows snippets of life. I like to do travel photos. I like to do portraits. I like to do landscapes and cityscapes. Right now, if you go to my website, you'll see that I have a lot of architecture shots. I'm an architect by profession. So recently, I kind of discovered buildings, no, and structures. But what I'm doing now is I'm taking more of a black and white, high contrast look in order to accentuate certain design elements in buildings. So that's what I'm kind of into right now. One of the things I like is sometimes I do charity work. And I've moved to a new office in Manila, and I noticed that there were a lot of homeless people in the area. So I was thinking, you know, in the middle of all the what's going on in the city, people going to the malls, eating in nice places, and you know, making money and all of that. You have this something going on that people are not really aware of. They live anonymous lives, and these are children who, well, children are our future, supposed to be our future. And so what I wanted to do was try to document these children, try to see how they grow, what sort of influences affect them, how the environment of being homeless, living in the streets affects them later on. My main purpose really was to raise awareness for what's going on, and hopefully through my media of photography and through my blog site, I'll be able to show people that, you know, there are homeless kids like this Carlos boy who would probably benefit from help from maybe some charitable people, maybe the government or whatever, because sayang they're kids, and they deserve a better life. One of the things that I try to tell friends or people who seek advice is always bring your camera. Always have it in the car beside you. Always wear it with you when you walk around, no?
This and more when we return.
Because of photography, na-discover ko sa sarili ko na nailalabas ko yung creativity. Bata pa ako, mahilig na talaga ako sa drawings, sketches. My first camera is Canon 1000D. Huwag lang tayo mapagod mag-take ng photographs.
one of the things that I try to tell friends or people who seek advice is always bring your camera. Always have it in the car beside you. Always wear it with you when you walk around. No? And that time I was going to the office, and then there was the storm surge, and that there was a time right after, I think that was after Typhoon Hener. So I went down, took pictures, and then I shared it online. No? And then one time, I got an email from CNN, and they said they wanted to do a Skype call with me. Wala lang. So we did a Skype call. The producer was asking me, oh, what did you see when you took these pictures, things like that. Then at the end of the conversation, he goes, oh, okay, I just wanted to tell you that your photos were chosen as one of the 23 incredible weather photos for 2012. So, oh, okay. Then after that, he sent me the link, the video, and then the page, and then it was also aired online. So, interesting. Oh, well, my tip would be, 1, always bring your camera with you. 2, try to master it, because right now, kasi what I would really caution those entering this photography hobby, because it's getting to be very popular right now. What I would tend to caution them is not to become lazy photographers. What I mean by that is they have 6 frames per second cameras, and they just shoot and shoot and shoot and try to choose between the 6, which is the chamba shot, you know, and then the rest they delete. Okay lang to delete, no? And then they shoot, they delete, and do whatever. So they become lazy, they don't learn the craft. Unlike during the film days, we would make sure that we understand all the basics and the interrelationships between, say, for example, ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and then now there's white balance, no? So, and then metering. So, because it was very expensive, especially during when I was studying, it was very expensive to buy a roll of film, expensive to have it processed and have it printed. And then if you don't master the settings, then you spend all that money and then only to find a contact print or a set of prints na overexposed or underexposed. So I would always try to tell people and my students, because I also conduct a basic course in photography. I will always try to tell them to master all these settings, because it's the only way na you can really capture what you see in your mind's eye. Don't let the lure of digital allowing you to delete, shoot and delete and make chamba shots take the better of you, because sayang lang, no? You won't be able to really improve your craft. So master the basics, always bring your camera with you, and try to master what your equipment can do, no? And don't get into the upgrade trap. A lot of newbies will buy a new camera and then they see online, oh, this guy has a nice picture, what lens did he use? I'll buy that lens too. Bili ng bili. So what I always tell my students is, try to understand yourself first. Ano bang hilig mo? Portraiture, landscape, family shots, travel, whatever, no? Then once you've mastered that, then maybe that's where you start off buying other equipment or lenses. Don't just keep on buying just because you saw somebody else had that and he posted a nice image using that particular lens. Sayang lang. Don't get into the upgrade merry-go-round. It's gonna cost you a lot of money.
Alam nyo, camera geeks, ang cameras natin should be an extension of our mind's eye. Sabi nga ni Mr. Grant Urbeta, some people see shapes in the clouds while others just see the clouds. Kaya we shouldn't bind ourselves in one genre in photography. So just keep on shooting and shoot what you love, because eventually, it will be apparent in your photographs. Ito na guys, ang pinakahihintay nyong best photos of the week. At ang mananalo ng 5-in-1 reflector na ito ay si... For this week's theme, it will be... So send in your entries within the week to camerageektv@gmail.com. The winner will get a set of 7-color color gels for strobe lights and a 58mm 3-stage collapsible lens hood from Photo Gear Manila. Special thanks to... That's it for today, guys. Join us again next week para sa mas maraming sorpresa. Dito lang yan sa Photography Show ng Bayan, Camerageek TV.
If you have any questions you'd like to ask about photography, any photography issues, anything under the sun that I can answer, whether technical, aperture, ISO, shutter speed, or how to talk to a model, how to set up lights, you know, that big issue about being able to take photos in public places, in malls, ask away.